Hi everybody, and today I have a short video that's different from past stuff. It's actually story time from my personal life, and it was brought about because Bufo Periglenis and Vondelpiet were talking about what kind of non-therapist occupations make the best occupational therapists. And they brought up first hairdressers, stylists, or barbers, and then after that came mechanics, and then Vondelpiet mentioned dentists as being surprisingly good therapists, to which I responded, yes, in fact, a dentist saved my marriage. And so I thought that really deserves an explanation. And so where I typically would shy away from talking about my personal life, I'll go a little bit into something that happened in the past, if only because some people actually think that I'm not stupid, and that my life happens to be pretty much on track. Well, not that dumb, and my life is mostly on track, but this shows that I am as fallible and um, as capable of stupidity as anybody. So, what happened was, once upon a time, back in 1999, I think, 98 or 99, it was after the Asian financial crisis meltdown, which was about 97, 98 or so. I, I'd been freelancing as a consultant, doing various odd jobs, and not making a whole lot of money at it because I had a fee, meaning I went out and would just work with people who happened to find me. I was not a salesperson at all. I didn't sell myself, but for those people that would find me, I would do whatever work they wanted me to do a good job and pay whatever they'd pay me. If I liked the work and liked the person, if I didn't like the work, then I'd sort of try and shy away from it. So, long story short, I had a lot of free time and not a lot of money came from it. So that's the situation I was in from about 96, 97 until early 99. And the nice thing about what I put together is that I had had jobs all over the world prior to that. Um, I was in my 20s doing all sorts of crazy things, and I was then in my late 20s. And so I had clients in Europe and in Asia and here in North America. One day I got a call from a contact in Asia, or an email, that noted that they were starting off a pretty significant new project and they needed someone who did what I can do. And so they needed somebody working full time on site for up to the next 3 months or so. And the numbers for the kind of work that they were looking to do were quite attractive. So I was looking at that thinking, for 3 months worth of work, I could make as much as I made the last year or so. The contract was to run up to 3 months. Basically, I was a stopgap until they could find local talent to fill in. And after giving it some thought, I decided, yeah, I'll go for it. I'm going to go take this job in Asia, move over there for a couple of months. They'll put me up in housing, pay me good money, come back wealthier and happier, and the whole rest of the year will be easy. Well, I made the mistake of not consulting my live-in girlfriend at the time, and so she was not amused by um, my really awful mistake of accepting the job and going ahead with the contract without saying anything to her until I was already ready to go. So it was basically like, oh, yes, by the way, in a couple of weeks, I'll be leaving to move to Asia for up to the next 3 months, but I'll come back much wealthier than I'm leaving. So, uh, surprisingly, she did not leave me. Um, which I'm grateful for. I was stupid enough not to understand that this was really problematic. But there was a lot of tension, and I left for Asia without knowing whether or not I'd still have a place to live when I got back or if I just have to move out. That wasn't great. Anyway, I got over there early in the year, and fortunately, we continued to have correspondence, my girlfriend at the time and I, and it was still very a tense situation, entirely my fault. And Valentine's Day was coming up, about 3-4 weeks into the project, and I thought I really need to make some sort of a gesture here to try and patch up the mess that I've made. But if I do it in my own name, it's probably not going to play very well, regardless of what I do. So how do I make this work? Well, bring in our dentist. Our dentist was something of a miracle worker, and he's done all sorts of things where he would do specific favors for free. He'd stay after hours. He'd come in on a weekend if there was an emergency. He was a remarkable dentist, a dentist among dentists. And so he had built up something of a reputation before we even left about the sorts of stuff that he was capable of doing. So I sent, through the miracle of the internet, which was around even in 99 or so, I managed to get hold of a flower company and sent a large bouquet of flowers and a CD, along with a note that was signed Happy Valentine's Day, signed by our dentist. And so that was disarming enough that it cleared some of the ice that was in the relationship at the time. And as it turned out, I came back only about 6 or 7 weeks later, because the people that brought me over there understood the gravity of the situation and found someone else very quickly to take lead in the project that they were looking to launch. So I kind of helped kick things off, got the transfer in, and got a ticket back and hightailed it back as quickly as I could. And eventually we patched things up, and then we got married a couple of years later. And it's been more than 20 years since, and we are still together. So the moral of the story is that it's not entirely correct for me to say a dentist saved my marriage, but a dentist saved my relationship, which ultimately led to getting married. And in addition to that, I guess a corollary to it is that Dulles is not as smart as some people might think. And there was fortunately a chance to patch up some of the absolute stupidity that I had earlier on. And I would say I've done probably plenty of stupid things since. But this is one story that I think is neutral enough, and I can abstract enough to tell. And so there you go. I guess the final moral to the story is, if you have a spouse or a loved one and you get an offer to go live in a foreign country, even if it's an attractive work offer, discuss it with the people you care about first before agreeing and signing any contract to get on a plane to live in another country. So anyway, that is the story, Wendell Pete, about how a dentist saved my eventually to-be marriage, to be more correct. And that's all I've got. I will come back with something more insightful and or clever, I hope, at some point in the near future. But bye for now.